lucky, like I said, there was another What If coming out, and it came out immediately. I'll probably be doing a third, like the second part of this in like at 5 or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, what's going on, guys? Lotus What Ifs here, back with another video. This is a new series. This is a Black Clover What If. You know, I deleted my first ever one. And possibly this is not the upgraded version, the best version, the better version. No, this is actually a new series. It's actually an idea I thought of, and I kind of like the idea, the concept. So, warning: if you cannot understand what I'm about to say in this, please get the help of a friend or a weeb if you do not know of any, but you currently are a weeb, so you should understand it. So yeah, so this is part 1 of what if Asta could directly use mana and magic. Now you may be wondering, what? Huh? How does that work? Well, let's say it's kind of like the elves, but not. It's actually better than the elves. See, the elves, they have a high affinity for magic, so they get the power right from the source. But they have to get the power. They need to actually summon the power from the source. The source doesn't just give it to them, but for Asta, the source literally gives this man's like the power that he needs. This is what Asta's gonna look like. You may be wondering, why does he have the blindfold? Because his eyes are gonna be closed, just like that one Magic Knight captain with the dream magic. So yeah, like, it's not like he's always gonna be asleep, because he has many other magics keeping him awake as well. But don't worry, he gets sleep at night. But anyways, so yeah, he has a very high affinity. His affinity is actually infinite. His potential infinite. Everything about him is infinite, even his power. But he has to get those unlocked with training. But anyways, I guess we're gonna start, right? So we start off when when Asta is 2. Alright, when Asta is 2, he was hearing voices and stuff like that. See, Asta couldn't talk at this time, so he was just giggling and stuff like that at thin air. That's what basically Sister Lily, father, and stuff like that, and the other kids saw. They just thought that, you know, Asta was just weird, or he was cursed or something like that, or just hearing voices and stuff like that. But they didn't know it was actually strands of mana. Now here's one thing you need to understand: like there is beast mana, there is also many other manas like star magic and many more mana. All right, see, he has there's this. I'm gonna be adding a new mana. Celestial mana. Celestial mana is the purest and strongest form of mana. It's also known as original mana. It's the origination, or the OC, the creator of mana. Stuff like that. It's kind of the original mana. It's actually the root where the other forms of mana stem from. So basically, Deku, he just sees a bright lights. That the brightness is from the celestial mana. Now there's many different colors for each different type of mana, so like water magic, fire magic, and stuff like that. Not just those, there's the beast magic, copy magic, and many more. And each of those and there's just strings of them, and each string flows from a different location. Like there are some that go from the sky, the ground, some that are even in unknown places. For example, demonic magic. Yes, he's gonna have demonic magic. Now you will be wondering, will he get Libe? Yes, he will. If you do not know who Libe is actually the anti-magic demon inside of his grimoire. Now, how will he get Libe? Well, Libe is going to be under that glove. Libe is going to be the mark under this glove. It's going to be like this. Like I said, it's going to be more detailed because, well, in this one, Libe's hate for Lucifero is actually much, much, much higher. So, yeah. So, Deku, he actually talked to Libe when he was a kid. Because remember, Libe's magic also counts as, well, a form of magic or mana, which, well, can communicate with, well, Asta. Now, Libe, he keeps telling Asta to hurry up and grow stronger so that he can actually get inside his grimoire, his body, because like, there was also many other manas, like angel mana, fallen angel mana, beasts mana, and many more, just telling him, yo, shut up, he's just a kid. Like, he'll definitely get strong, but like, you gotta wait, you gotta chill. I understand you hate that man's, but like, chill. As Libe, he's always arguing with the angels and fallen angels and stuff like that, and archangels. As basically, they kind of getting tired of him, to the point where they probably slap the living crap out of him. But they don't do that, alright? Yeah. I know, right? They don't do that. And who's the ship for this? The ship for this is an odd ship. Actually, a ship that I actually quite possibly would say matches how Deku's temperament would be. He won't be as riled up and talkative and loud as he is in the anime. No, he'll have a calm demeanor and stuff like that. So, the ship for this is, well, Frey Goleon's sister. This is Goleon. I legit forgot her name. So you're all either gonna hear Sis Goleon or Frey Goleon's sister. Cause I legit forgot her name. So I'm not gonna search up her name. But anyways, now I remember. Mereoleona. I just remembered it. Alright, but anyways, like it just came to me after just like staring blankly into a wall, But anyways, yeah, Mereoleona is the ship and stuff like that. It's gonna be quite convenient. It's actually gonna make sense how they meet. I'm not gonna do some random shit like I always do, like, oh shit, he met her while he was hiking, and shit like that. Nah, but anyways, in this one, he's gonna leave he's gonna leave at a young age. Actually, he's gonna leave at a young age, and she's actually gonna leave at 10 years old. Yeah, he's gonna leave at 10 years old. So as he grew up, he actually, well, was talking to the fairies and stuff like that, because he got some knowledge from, well, the mana knowledge. And well, then there was, well, no, knowledge magic that gives him at least unlimited magic if he needs it. But there was one magic that actually strung up the question for him, and that was curiosity magic. Now, curiosity magic, I feel like it should be a thing in Black Clover, and it has a special property. Depending on what the person is curious about, it can affect the person that they're talking about, or thing, or even reality itself. So, for example, if the person were to say, I wonder, what if Asta's luck was infinite? Then it would actually give Asta infinite luck. Now, it has to have a certain time span. The time span is at least 1 or 2 days, unless the person actually sets a specific time span. So, if Asta were to say, I wonder, what if Yuno's luck was negative infinity for 5 years straight? Then Yuno's luck would be negative infinity for 5 years straight, to the point where by the time he gets to at least 1 day, he'd be dead. But we don't talk about that, do we now? So we're not gonna do that though. So him and Yuno are kind of friends and stuff like that, and basically Asta, he actually uses wind against Yuno, because Sister Lily noticed that, well, Asta was using wind, but to her surprise, it wasn't just wind that he was using. As he grew up, Asta started using many other magics, like Sister Lily's water magic and basically fire magic and stuff like that. As Asta says, at the age of 10, Asta, he already has good control over his elements, and it's kind of great. He has great control over his elements, and it's kind of easy for him to do anything that he wants. He's helping with the work and stuff like that pretty easily. He also trains like he did in the anime, and he's not as short as he is in the anime. I think Asta's like 5 foot in the anime or something like that, or 5'5". I'm 5 foot. Yeah, he's 5 foot. I think he's 5 foot, but in this one he's gonna be 5'8", 5'7", 5'7". Yeah, 5'7". Will I make him the Wizard King? No, I will not make him the Wizard King. Why? Why not? Because I don't know. Let's just say he just wants to live a regular, everyday life, a normal life. Even though he's gonna be a magic knight, stuff like that, because he wants to help people. So Asta. Well, I'm talking to Yuno one day. They were talking in the forest where Asta usually trains, and basically, like, he already got into contact with Libe and stuff like that and the others, and, he already made that gear for himself. So, he decides, it's like, he's talking to them mentally as well, as they said, why don't you just travel the world at your current pace? As Asta says, that's what I was gonna say. As basically he says, hey, as Yuno says, yeah, Asta? Because, he looks up to Asta, alright? it doesn't matter how old that Yuno will be, he will always look up to Asta like he did when they were kids in the anime. Cause he didn't look up to Asta when they got. It's not that he looked down on him. No, he saw him as an equal. But he's gonna look down on look up to Asta. He's not gonna have like an inferiority complex or anything. No, he's gonna look up to him, but also feel like they're equals. But he also looks up to him at the same time. So basically, Asta says words that Yuno thought that he would never hear, and he does not want to hear any time in his life. I want to go travel the world. As hearing this, and he thinks, did I do something wrong? Did everybody say do something? As Asta, he sees that is legitimately panicking. Like, he might as well start hyperventilating and having a panic attack or anything like that. As Asta actually calms him down with calming magic. It's sleep magic. Now, it's not actually a part of sleeping magic comes calming magic. It's actually one of the sub elements, a part of it. So Asta explains that he wants to get stronger and stuff like that, and Yuno says, okay, but will you teach me the things that you learned with your wind magic in the future? As Asta says, sure, why not? We're currently 9 years old, so I'll be leaving next year, so you have plenty of time to train with me. As Yuno says, yay! As basically, they tell Sister Lily and stuff like that. Sister Lily and the church and everybody are kind of worried because they don't want Asta to leave, but they can't change the fact that Asta wants to go train. So you get the gist. Yeah, he's gonna be going to the Magic Knights captain thing at the age of 18. So yeah. Know what? Yeah, he's gonna be gone for 18 years. Yeah, 8 years. 18. 8 years, not 18. 8. So yeah. So Asta, he leaves at the age of 10. Now, he's been traveling around learning many things like spiritual magic and many things like that. And he actually came across beast magic, and he says, oh, that's interesting. And, he tried refining his magics, and he even learned cloning magic, which he found that really useful. Which he found space magic as well, and he kind of created a subspace where he kept his clones to train those elements to actually master them, because he doesn't want to feel at least like he's lacking in one thing. He wants all of them to be balanced. So yeah, he has some doing speed and strength and many more training, and they're going at the same pace, not like one ahead of the other. No, they're all going at the same pace, making it equal work, and basically they're all talking to each other. As Libe's talking about, yo, what about my magic? As Libe says, as Asta says, well, you don't have magic, so what do you want me to do? As he says, what about my demon form? As he says, completely mastered that at the age of what, 7? As Libe says, alright, fair point, but what about the unity thing? As Asta says, I never knew about that. As he says, alright, then I'll have one of them train with the unity thing. So, they train with unity, and Asta, he does not lose magic, because the mana given to him is celestial mana, so it goes directly to him at infinite rates. So, yeah. So, Asta, he's been doing this for 18 years. There was even a time where he actually decided to stop walking around for a whole year, and that was when he actually turned 17. There's going to be some sexual scenes in this, so prepare yourselves. If your parents are around, I suggest you disappear from their sight or their sight of hearing. So yeah. So Asta, he does what Asta does best, and that's train some more. But but we're not gonna do what Asta does, because that's not Asta in this what if. Asta just trains there like he's just lazying around, but it's training for him inside of his head. Because he's doing mental training, alright? He's doing mental training and stuff like that, because the whole thing with magic that happens in the imagination and dream magic, it's mental magic, so he has to strengthen that a lot. So, he just stays and strengthens it a lot. And he actually came across, at the age of 15, he came across the, Heart Kingdom, where he learned about the whole, a whole curse thing, and he, well, defeated it. And then at the age of 16, he went to the Spade Kingdom, which, quite honestly, he probably would say that he regretted it, but he didn't at the same time. Because when he went to the Spade Kingdom, he met the Dark Triad, and they tried attacking him, but Asta, he just built different. He immediately took their mana, especially Lucifero's gravity magic, and, he completely bodied them. They used their Unity forms, but it still couldn't do anything because Asta didn't need that Unity form. He just beat them. And for Lucifero, he actually snatched Lucifero out of Dante's body and personally beat the living crap out of Lucifero. Yeah, he beat a shadowy figure. He beat the living crap out of Lucifero, and Lucifero was begging for his life and saying, "Why are you doing this?" Until Libe came out behind him and says, "Oh, so you don't remember me, huh?" As Lucifero says, "Who the hell are you?" As Libe explains that I'm the one that you controlled years ago to kill that woman. As Lucifero looks in horror to see that one of the low-class demons that he controlled actually got someone this strong to actually beat the living crap out of him. Now, Lucifero thinks that he has to tell all the other generals, but, Asta wasn't having that. He put a collar on him and said, if anyone other than Dante and the Dark Triad know of this, you'll die immediately. As Lucifero is scared for his life, so he doesn't tell anybody. As he proceeds on with his day after stealing some of their magic and stuff like that, and he was like, okay, I'm leaving now. As he went to that village where Magma is, and he met Magma and stuff like that. But, he only wears a mask. He wears a mask, and, his face doesn't look like this. He wears a mask. So, when he talked to Magma, Magma didn't know it was him. So, yeah, it was young Magma. It was young Magma, young troublemaker Magma and stuff like that. And he knocked some sense into young Magma. And he was like, yo, stop doing that. That's really gonna get you hurt one of these days and stuff like that. So, yeah. He then met Nero along the way. And Nero guided him. And Nero talked to him and stuff like that. As, the first thing that Asta said was, you can turn into your human form if you want. As Nero, she was actually shocked and she turned into a human form. As she says, how did you know? So Asta says, don't worry about that, but, can you explain to me at least what you are doing? As she says, I need help finding these crystals. As she says, why? As she explains the whole thing with the first Wizard King. As he says, oh, so that statue is actually alive. Oh, interesting. But that's not happening now. As she says, why? As he says, well, that's for the future. We can't mess up the future now, can we? As she says, fine. As she turns back into a bird and she just continues to, explore the lands with Asta. Learning new things, seeing things from Asta's perspective and stuff like that, and quite possibly meeting Libe, which actually scared the living crap out of her because she's just a demon bird. She never actually met a demon itself. So, yeah. So, that happens, and basically, does Asta get a grimoire in this? No, he will not. So yeah, Asta for them 17 years, he decided to, for 1 year, and that was when he was 17, decided, nah, I'm not going to explore anymore, until he was then 18. Which he decided to go back into the exploring game, and he just explored all the way until, a place full of magma and rocks falling everywhere, which, he sensed a hot spring, and he was like, okie dokie then, I'll go. And Asta, he pulled up, he took his clothes off, jumped into the pool, not knowing what was the female side, as, he just lets out a big sigh, as, Mereoleona attacks him, because she didn't know that there was somebody else here, and Asta blocks it, as, he clears up the smoke, and he sees a girl, and, they're both standing, so they kind of see each other's parts, as Mereoleona blushed loudly, and Asta says, my bad, didn't know that there was somebody in here. As Mereoleona, she's blushing, heavily, but, she still got that pride on her hand, so she attacks him some more, and, she got beat. So, she tried seducing him, and it worked at first, until Asta turned the tables. Oh, how to turn tables. As, at that moment, that was their first time meeting, and it was kind of like love at first sight, and, they kind of did it. They kind of did it in the water, and, enjoyed their time there. Like, they stayed there for a week until Asta said, I have to go, we'll definitely meet again in the future, as Mereoleona says, fine, because this time Asta, he actually showed his eyes. And what do Asta's eyes look like? They're not like the green they are in the anime, so I'll just look a picture up. Hold on. So yeah, Asta's eyes look like that. And, Mereoleona, she fell in love with him immediately after looking into those eyes. She fell even more in love with him, giving him an even deeper kiss, going all tongue and stuff like that when they did it. Now, just so you know, for that whole week, they did it. Like, that whole week, because Mereoleona's stamina, she just built different. Like I said, she built different with that stamina. So, they had to go all out. Asta, he wasn't trying, but still, he was actually surprised that she lasted this long. Cause Asta had the you know what? I really should stop doing it with the 20 inches, cause y'all boys need to understand. A girl's thing can get hurt too. So my boy Asta got the 9-inch. Nah, 10-inch. Yeah, 10-inch. Yeah, he got the 10-incher. 10 inches. That's all I'm gonna be doing. 10 inches. I'm not going further. Alright, 10 inches. So, they did it, and, did he nut in her? No, he didn't. He pulled out. His pull-out game is strong. Well, there was actually one time where he actually did it inside her, but, Son Asta manipulates reality, so he didn't really have to worry about it, and they just continued, like, he nutted her multiple times inside that whole week. Like, after he did it the first time and remembered, oh shit, I have reality magic. I can manipulate reality as if I never did it inside her. As, he just continued to do it. So she doesn't get pregnant, don't worry about that. But anyways, yeah, so man's Asta leaves. And, like, at this time, he's currently 18. He thinks, alright, I think it's time I go back. So, Asta, he leaves and, he goes back to the outside layer of Clover Kingdom, where he goes and basically he looks much different. He looks like this in the picture, and he knocks on the door of the church. Everybody was inside eating. Like, it's currently nighttime when he comes, and it's basically Sister Lily opens the door while talking to everybody. She turns around and she starts crying as everybody's wondering what's going on, as she just says, Asta! As she just hugs him, and Asta hugs back. As your boy Yuno came running first. He was like, Zoom, I heard Asta's back. As he just hugged Asta, and Asta said, what's up, little bro? As, yeah. And this one, is younger than Asta, even though they were the same age, but still. No, they're still the same age, but Asta was just born a few days earlier, I guess. Yeah, because there were letters about their age. Asta was at least like 3 months old, and 1 month old. So, yeah. No, Asta 4 months, 2 months. Yeah, that's more like it. Yeah, that's how it worked. So yeah. Yeah, so that's how it worked, and so yeah. So the Dark Triad is still gonna happen, but it's not gonna last long. So, but they're gonna get that spark of confidence with the Tree of Cliff-Off and stuff like that, like the Dark Tree of Cliff-Off. So yeah. So Asta, he talks to and teaches him some things about like wind magic, and he can use the wind not just around him but like around his opponent as well. He teaches him some things. He teaches him like techniques that could possibly murder a man, and techniques that just severely harm them and stuff like that. So yeah. So basically they decide to go to the Magic Knights test, and basically Asta agrees, and he says, alright. As, the church was kind of sad. The people in the church were kind of sad because Asta, he just came back, and he's leaving just a few, months later. Like, 2 months later, he just leaves with and, they start with their travels. As, they get there, and basically Asta, everybody received their grimoire, but, Asta was, suggested that Asta go get his grimoire, but Asta said that's a bad idea. As says, why? Because he says, if I did, every grimoire you see in that place would be inside of my hands. As he says, oh, alrighty then. So, yeah, that's basically what happened. So, Asta, he just dips with, and he gets there with everybody, and basically, there's one bird with Asta, and that's Mero. Remember that. The demon birds with Mero. So yeah. So Asta's just with Mero, and Mero's walking around and stuff like that, seeing everybody around. Magic Knight Captain as Asta, he senses time magic. As he looks up and he sees Julius, as son Asta, he just teleports near Julius as he says, You you have time magic. As Julius, he's surprised because Asta, he whispered it, so he didn't worry about anybody else hearing, but he was like, How did you know? As Asta says, I can sense it. Your mana thread. As he says, What do you mean? She says, Every mana in form of magic has a thread. Yours is actually a silverish thread, representing time. As he says, alright then. As he says, What's your magic? As Asta says, I have every magic. I use mana and magic directly, so I can't really have one grimoire. I'll have every grimoire in the world if I were to actually get a grimoire. As Julius understands the situation, he says, Alright then. As basically, as Julius asks, What magic will you be using for the test? Asta says, I guess I'll use wind. As he says, Wind? Why wind? As he says, Well, I'm efficient in every magic I use, but I just want to use wind just like my, best friend. My little brother. We're both adopted, but still, I consider him my little brother. As he says, Can you show me him? As he points to Yuno, he saw him point at him, and Yuno was confused. As Julius, he waved at him, and he waved back, as waved back to him and stuff like that. So Magic Knight captains still aren't there yet, like Yami and them and stuff like that, because they had their works to do. And then they finally appeared like 5 minutes later to see none other than Julius talking to Asta with them sparkles in his eyes and stuff like that. And it's basically just wondering what's going on as they walk over to him, and they said, Hey kid, stop bothering Julius. As basically Asta's not really caring about them. He's actually ignoring them, quite honestly. As Yami don't take that, and he grabbed his head. As Asta grabbed Yami's hand, flipped Yami over, and he legitimately dislocated Yami's wrist. As all the Magic Knight captains are kind of confused, as they thought that, he's just some random nobody, just bothering Julius. And he's still talking to Julius. Julius didn't even notice what happened. So, yeah. So, with that broken wrist, he tries to attack with the sword, but boy Asta, he come in clutch with that wind magic. It don't even touch. He has a wind barrier around him. They're kind of like blades, so Yami's not touching him. So yeah, that's basically what happened, and basically it comes up with the test. The whole test happens and stuff like that, and like with the whole flying with the broomstick test and shit like that. Now, everybody expects Asta to not have magics, and there's a bird with him. So they thinking that he has no mana. But Asta, it's not because he has no mana, no. It's because that she's a demon, like an actual person. As Asta, he just starts floating in mid-air. As everybody's confused about how he's doing this, as Julius knows, I have space, that means he says, I have time, that means he has space as well, so he's using the space around him to float in the air. As basically, that's actually what Julius is thinking inside his head. He's not saying it out loud. And basically, now it's time for the fights. Now this time, the fights go as per normal, except for Asta and that other guy's fight. As he does that ball again, but Asta says, let's see how strong it is. As Asta, waves his hand and slashes. Just things just keep hitting the guy's barrier, and he's saying, what are you doing? As Asta says, I said, let's find out how strong it is. As Asta just continues to slash in many different directions, as basically the Magic Knight captains don't even know what's going on. They're just thinking that he's just playing around or something like that, or just moving something at high speeds. But Julius actually heard about one of his abilities with the wind. Like, that's the only element he knows the most about. Because all the other elements, he just tells them that he can use the elements. He didn't actually tell them how he uses them, he just tells them how he uses wind. As you know, he's just slashing left and right and stuff like that, and basically, actually showed his magic. So, they're kind of skeptic. As basically, Asta's just slashing left and right, many more, not really giving a damn. Just ending careers like there's no tomorrow. As Asta just proceeds to beat him after a whole 5 minutes of just playing around with him. He just lifted him up with air and just slammed him on the ground. As basically now it's time for them to pick their teams, and basically when it came to Asta, nobody lifted up their hand. As basically he goes to Yami. He walks up to Yami and he says, I want him. As everybody says, what? So how is he just picking? We're supposed to As Julius says, sure, why not? As they all look at Julius like he a dumbass, because they clearly thought that he didn't have no magic. As Yami says, what? As Asta says, well, such is life. As basically, he looks at Finral and he says, oh, So he goes to Finral, taps his head, and he says, oh, so that's where your base is. That's nice. As Finral says, what do you mean? As basically, Asta did pro gamer move. He did a portal, and Finral's confused about how he could do a portal. As Asta just walks in, and he just says, bye, Julius. As Julius says, bye, Asta. As Asta just goes inside. As he's in front of the base, and basically, he just kicks the door open, which now it's silent. Like, they were making noise inside until Asta came in. And basically, Asta, he looks and, he looks around as he sees Magma, and he says, this is gonna be fun. As basically, everybody's wondering why he was smiling. Especially Magma, because he was smiling when he looked at him. And, he went to the Witch's Forest as well, but Vanessa wasn't there. She was actually already joined, so, yeah. So, as basically Magma gets up and says, hey, why are you smiling when you look at me? As basically Asta, he reaches behind him and he pulls out a mask. He throws the mask at Magma. As Magma says, what's this? As he looks at the mask and sees the marks on it, and he starts crying on it, and he says, you're him? As Asta turns around and smiles and said, yep. As basically Magma ran to him and said, I thought I'd never see you again. As Asta says, why would that be? I said we'd meet again. As basically, like, about this time, Yami and Finral come to see, Magma hugging Asta, and they're like, what's going on? Like, they don't know what's going on. Yami still got that broken wrist, but Asta, he come in clutch with that healing magic, and he heals him. Now, we skip to when they first meet Noelle. Noelle's practicing that water magic and stuff like that, as Noelle's about to get hit with that big-ass ball of water again. But Asta, right when it's about to hit Noelle, he grabs Noelle by the collar, pulls her back, and lets it splash. As he's just lifting her up, and Noelle's just kicking, saying, hey, leave me. As, she's trying to attack Asta, but, like, there's a barrier around him, just protecting his everywhere in his body. As Asta says, So he looks at her and says, oh, you have terrible magic control. So you're the one that she was talking about. As basically, she said that she's royalty and stuff like that. As basically Asta, he looked at her and he remembers Mereoleona telling her about the whole famine, stuff like that, about like one of the Silvas being unable to control her magic and stuff like that. He says, as he looks at her and he says, oh, so you're the one that she told me about. Interesting. Well, that's not my problem. As Asta just proceeds with his day. As you know, everybody, like Asta, he's just mysterious to everybody. He's just really mysterious to them. And when it comes to their training and stuff like that, they don't know why, but he never trains with them actually. Until they actually ask him to train with them, and he completely mops the floor with them. And Vanessa tries to use her string, but Asta, uses that right string of faith, and he said, Fate, and he says, hey, do me a favor. Cancel out her magic as right string of fate. Meows and cancels out her magic. And that's where I'm gonna be leaving it off, guys, where like they first meet and stuff, until like they get a summons from Julius and stuff like that about the whole dungeon thing and stuff. But then they can bring 3 people and bring people like, and yeah, that's where I'm gonna be leaving it off, guys. So yeah, this is part 1 of Asta could use magic and mana directly. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Bye, my little stars.